Hey guys, it's Danny. Today we're gonna have a pretty laid back video. We're gonna talk about orchids which I've always wanted to have, and now I do. It's a sort of update. I'm gonna show you some new orchids, some older orchids, make some updates on them, and just talk a little bit about why I've kind of always wanted them. When I say always, of course I mean a few years or something. I was not born with the desire to have orchids, but you know how we are, we tend to exaggerate things. So that said, let's just start. I'm just gonna pull them out one by one, take a look at them, and talk a little bit about them. Okay, so first let's just start with something new. This is Epidendrum ilense. Oh my goodness, for those of you who are old enough on my channel, maybe you remember I once said that in my wish list I have this guy. This was several years ago and finally I got it. Now I have a funny suspicion this is actually a keiki which has been propagated, but that's okay. I don't see any seedling growth or anything of the sorts, but it looks pretty okay. This was actually an auction. Yes, I told you I'm not gonna do auctions anymore, but there are some things that I really want, and I was lucky enough to actually win it. I don't know how to arrange it so it sits. I didn't get a chance to pot it yet. I'm gonna show you some close-ups anyway. What's really interesting about this orchid, which by the way it's a species, but it has been propagated in cultivation, is the shape of the flowers. I'll link you down below to the orchid species website. I hope I can find a Wikipedia picture that I can share with you. It has a really frilly, fuzzy lip that I just adore. This reminds me, I do have a video about dendrobiums with fuzzy lips. Check it down below if you want to see it. At the time when I learned about the existence of this epidendrum, I didn't know that there are quite a few orchids with those types of fuzzy lips. For me, this was it. This was the orchid, and I've always wanted to have it. The problem is this orchid is slightly rare, at least in my area or with the sellers that I'm comfortable ordering from. But it's supposed to be a hot-growing terrestrial or epiphytic orchid in very wet tropical forests. I'm just reading from Orchid Species right now. So it should be okay for my climate as long as I maintain it wet, and I'm guessing in a more terrestrial type of medium, everything should be okay. I did not repot him yet, but as you can see, he's potted in sphagnum moss with those pebbles on top as a top layer. Now, I've always wondered what the top layer of pebbles meant. Maybe nurseries used it to just weigh down the pot, which in this case makes sense, but also maybe they used it to avoid algae at the top. Who knows? Since I believe this is a keiki, we might actually have a bloom pretty soon because theoretically it is a mature orchid. But time will tell. I shall definitely keep you up to date. Next up, a Cattleya type. Now when it comes to Cattleyas, I do have quite a few that I've always wanted to have. And I think you know my little sensitivity towards them, but this particular one is indeed special. I did see her a long time ago. Let me just give you the name, a Cattleya type. I'm not entirely sure what it's called now. I'll research, I'll link it down below to Renanthera Chantilly Lace Twinkle. Now, I saw a picture of this orchid when I didn't know about peloric orchids, or I wasn't very sure that Cattleyas can be peloric, and all of the splash petal Cattleyas are actually peloric. This, on the other hand, has such a nice spotted lip that the peloria in her case looks like something very unique. And I know that's not really grammatically correct, but the lip has a very nice spotted pattern. So if you can imagine that pattern on the petals, then you get something wonderful. I'll try to find some pictures for you guys to show on the screen. I purchased this orchid last summer, I believe. And ever since then, she matured this growth. And also now it's maturing this growth. I purchased it as a younger orchid, not yet blooming size. So I'm not sure if this cane will bloom. It has a closed leaf on top here, so I cannot see inside if there is any sheath. I'm not even sure if this orchid produces sheaths or what it does actually. It is a complex hybrid intergeneric as far as I know. But I think this new growth is bigger than the previous one. It still has some plumping to do. Overall, it has done really great. Cattleyas actually really like this environment that I have. I did keep her outside on the terrace and she loved it. So this year she's gonna go out yet again. But wow, when I saw it at Schroeder, I knew that I just had to purchase it. Even if she was a young orchid, not yet mature, I didn't want to wait because I know this is kind of rare. Nowadays, I did see it on eBay and in some other nurseries as well, so every orchid which is rare at some point stops being rare pretty much as they propagate it and get more individuals, obviously. But still, it was something quite unique when I first discovered it, and now having it, I'm just really happy and I cannot wait to see it in bloom. Hopefully this growth will bloom. She has done really great in my care, but I don't know if she's mature enough. Next up, well, whoever remembers that I actually did have this one at one point is very old here on my channel. We're talking 2013, 2014. This is Dendrobium Stardust. This particular one is the Firebird. The yellow version is called Kiyomi. I had that one as well. I had this one. I lost them. Why would I lose them? Because the tag says Dendrobium nobile orchid. Well, this is not a nobile. At least in my book, it does not behave like a nobile. So for all of these orchids, you will have some additional links below. If they're hybrids, I'll link you to the Blue Nanta website for each and every one of them, just so you see the parentage. This particular one is more of a unicum than a nobile. Yes, it has that shape that the nobiles usually have, but I believe it inherits something more from the unicum and also the moniliform than the nobile, which is just 12% of its parentage. Hence, it behaves rather weirdly, and I'll tell you why I lost both of them. Until I caught on to what was happening, it was a bit too late. This orchid is prone to producing millions of keikis, and that is not a good thing because all of these keikis actually drain the mother plant. Until they start to produce roots, it's already a bit too much on the mother plant. If you try to remove them, they're a bit too tiny. They will take forever to develop into something. And unlike the other nobiles, which can indeed produce keikis as well, this guy produces 30 of them or something like that. It's too much. So ever since I lost mine, which was a long time ago, I wanted to try it out again and just make sure that I remove all of these nuisances that this orchid is prone to create and only leave the basal, not keikis, basal growths. This is a sympodial orchid. The problem was I never actually found this orchid for sale until, well, the other day. And it's a pretty funny story. I have a flower shop here which sometimes brings more than the usual Phalaenopsis. I try to visit it regularly, so one day I visit the flower shop and the owner tells me, well, you know, we had an orange dendrobium, but somebody came and took both of them. We had two of them. So he made a few phone calls and found out where other dendrobiums were delivered. Turns out they were delivered to a flower shop that I could not find on Google. It was in a different city. So it was a bit of a wild goose chase for me and my boyfriend. But yeah, he had some blind faith in me. We just went there on that road. We saw a flower shop without a name and we thought, okay, maybe this is it. We went in and this was the only Dendrobium Stardust they still had. So it was meant to be, I like to believe. But now, hopefully, I'm not going to lose this guy because I know what he can do. And yeah, we're just gonna document the whole history with him because he can be a rather tricky nobile to have. And just look at him, he's gorgeous. Yes, he's a little bit fragrant as well, has a little bit of a sweet fragrance, but other nobiles in my opinion are more fragrant than him. But just look at this display. First, he's orange, but second, oh, he's wonderful. So fingers crossed that I do good this time, but only time will tell. Next up, an orchid that again has been in my wish list for years and years. And it doesn't look like much, it's a seedling, but yeah, I'm gonna tell you the story. This is Cymbidiella rhodochila. This is a species, so it's not like Cymbidium crossed with something else to give Cymbidiella. It's a proper species. You'll find the link to orchid species down below. And as I was saying, it is a seedling, and oh boy, the flowers. They're green with a red lip. I think you can see why I always had it in my wish list, and it's again pretty hard to find mature. So the story with this little seedling, which does not look great, but finally I got it to look right, it's coming from Orchid Garden. I'm not sure if they had an issue with their batch or this particular one is just sensitive as a species. I purchased it from Orchid Garden, and then at the same time Jessica made a gift to me and she got it for me from Orchid Garden as well. She knew I had it on my wish list and I didn't know she actually got one of them for me. So hers arrives first and this is the one she got. I was lucky to have a shorter transport, 5 days. Mine took 7 days to arrive. And mine did not make it because it came with a lot of spots which took over all of the leaves, and in the end it just killed the orchid in a matter of a week or so. Then I thought, it doesn't matter if I already have it, I'm gonna ask for a replacement and then I'll see, I'll give it away or something. I asked for a replacement from Orchid Garden. I told them don't pack it wet, you know, all of those things. They send it again and again it arrives in very bad condition. I could not save it yet again. So I lost 2 of them and one of them managed to survive, but you can see it's missing some parts. Some of the leaves are gone. This one I cut, but this part is okay. This leaf is the only one that grew in my care and it's pretty okay. It just has a little bit of damage here left over, but it was the most recent leaf that was being produced at the time and it grew okay. And this is the new leaf, which is absolutely fine. So all of these orchids had issues. The one that spent less on transport had the least issues. So that's what I'm saying. Maybe it's a sensitivity this orchid has, maybe not, I don't know. Be careful with this one. If you want to have it, maybe go and purchase it on location. Maybe don't order it if you know it's gonna spend a week on transport. I don't know. You're gonna have to tell me what your experience has been because I have a funny suspicion it's a finicky one. Now, I potted it in organic medium. I'm not taking risks and she is growing nice little roots. I cannot say she's a finicky orchid. She actually grows roots quite well. I had to up pot her. I had her in a smaller pot, but she grew quite a lot of roots. So she's not finicky in this regard, but the whole situation with the leaves, either they had some pathogen explosion in their nursery and it was amped by the fact that it was on transport, either this one has a sensitivity, I don't know. But I did manage to save 1 out of 3. So not a very good ratio, I have to say, but at least I have it. And lastly, I can't help it, I need to brag about it because this has so much history. Not this particular orchid, but the species. This is, of course, the Renanthera monachica, I don't know how to pronounce it. I'll tell you why I pronounce it monachica. Just think about the monarch butterfly. How do you spell monarch? CH, right? Well, monachica, CHICA. Did I spell correctly? Yeah, it kind of makes more sense to me, maybe because of my native language, I don't know. There are some people who are really bothered about the way that I pronounce names. It doesn't matter though. So, my monachica, why do I love this orchid so much? Well, because I fell in love with it a lot of time ago, 5-6 years ago at this point, and I purchased it as a young orchid. And oh boy, for 4 years straight, I had so many issues with that orchid. I refused to believe that it actually had a serious issue. Maybe a virus at this point, everything is possible. But I tried over and over again to make her better, change the setup. I tried her mounted, I tried her potted. Whenever I thought, well, okay, things are getting a little better, she would just collapse once again into that really awful chlorosis thing that she had on her leaves. And for 4 years straight, I tried to make her better. And I was just brokenhearted because I wanted that orchid so much and I just didn't want to give up on her. And then at some point I thought, okay, maybe it's not me, maybe it's something with this particular individual. The only way to move forward is to just give it up, get a new one. So I did. I gave it up, got a new one, and oh boy, my universe expanded. This is not a finicky orchid at all. So I purchased it when she was quite a lot tinier than she is now, and now she's just like proper Vanda. This is a Vendacious orchid, and it can grow pretty tall, but not very wide. She's growing roots like crazy. She even handles not semi-hydro, but self-watering semi-hydro. It's pretty much the same, kind of. Super well. I was telling you that I don't really get away with Vandas potted. I don't. But with Renantheras, it appears to work. So here she is in her full glory. Not yet, she's just opening up her buds, a little sneak peek. We shall not see her in February's What's in Bloom because it's already pretty crowded and exciting. But certainly next month we shall see her in her full glory together with the other Renanthera and with the Renanthera hybrid that I have. They're all spiking. So my impression was that Renantheras are really finicky orchids, but they're not. I just had a bad experience with one of them, and that is just not enough to conclude for the whole species. So yeah, this was one of those orchids which I had, but I wanted at the same time because it wasn't doing well. I wanted one that was not sick, one that would bloom. That one didn't even grow actually. This one grew in 1 year more than the other one grew in 4 years. But in the end, I'm happy that I gave it another go with another one and with a few others actually, and everything is actually going well. As far as the flowers goes, they're everything I imagined them to be and more. I swear this is fragrant. Very, very, very mildly, I do detect a sort of sweet apples type of smell from it. Don't imagine you're gonna stand next to it and be like, oh yeah, I detect something. No, stick the nose in the flower type of fragrant. This is the first day that I detected, so I will wait for the sun to come up a little more and then try to see if she's fragrant. But let me know, you guys, if you ever had this one in bloom. Is it a little bit fragrant? What do you detect? Did you detect anything? Because I think I can detect something. And I didn't see this one described as fragrant anywhere. So if she does have a little bit of a fragrance, that's nice. And I think that's about it for today's video. Alrighty guys, so that's about it for today. There were a few others that I kind of always wanted to have, like the Comparadia, but I'm not sure if she will pull through. Anyway, this will be an update for another time. These are the highlights that I am seriously watching now. Tomorrow we have the What's in Bloom video. It's gonna be pretty awesome. So stay tuned for that. And until then, you know the drill. Like or dislike this video below. Subscribe to my channel if you want to see more orchid videos from me. And if you like YouTube to notify you whenever I upload a new video, just turn on notifications as well. And if you're curious about my setup and the products that I use, just expand the description. I do list everything there. So that's it. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Bye.